Sticker mods are one of my favorite modifications to do to a standard end-by-end twisty puzzles. For those who don't know, a sticker mod is when you take the stock stickers off of a normal Rubik's Cube and then replace them with custom stickers, usually stickers that make the puzzle quite a bit harder. Take this Pochmann cube for example, which is especially hard to solve because the centerpiece needs to be properly oriented with the outside. These sticker mods are great because you can easily make them at home by yourself. You don't need any expensive tools or epoxy or anything.
Yeah, actually, people don't really use stickers much anymore, do they? That's because most new cubes nowadays, even Rubik's brands, are stickerless, and one of the biggest sticker manufacturers, CubeSmith, sadly went out of business several years ago. So most sticker mods nowadays are really just tile mods, or they're just patterns printed onto the puzzle. Either way, today we're going to take a look at some of the hardest sticker mods out there. Now, there are plenty out there that are difficult enough to drive even the highest IQist of cubers out there absolutely insane. But today, I've been able to whittle it down to just five puzzles that throughout my long, mediocre tenure as a cuber have taken a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and brain cells. And here they are. Okay, so first up on the docket, we have the ominously named Rubik's Phantom. Okay, so with this cube, if you know, you know. If you don't know how it works, well...
He heating up. What's he doing? He heating up. He heating up. No.
Yeah, this sometimes takes a while, let's see. Then we're getting somewhere. So yeah, the Rubik's Phantom is just like any other 3x3 except for the fact that the stickers, or tiles in this case, are all heat sensitive. So I guess what you're meant to do with this, you're just supposed to kind of warm the whole cube up with your body heat the most you can. However, I have pretty poor circulation and my apartment's pretty cold, so I'm gonna take some different measures. There we go. Much better. And just like that, lickety split, we are all good to go. You see, what I like to do with this thing is I like to heat it up and then solve it as many times as I can before it cools down and turns all black again. So I'm gonna do that. Alrighty, I'm like 6 solves in right now, and I think the studio lights above me have set the room temperature to like critical mass right here, where the colors will not go back to black, so... So yeah, it's a challenge to get this thing heated up in the first place, but in most environments, once you do, it takes a while to cool back down, which is why this cube comes in at number 5. It's not too hard. The concept is more of a gimmick rather than a real big challenge, but it's still cool, it's still unique, but it's out of here for now. Okay, on to contestant number 4 now. So, do you remember back at the beginning of this video when I mentioned the Pochmann cube? Well, it's back, but not this exact one. So the Pochmann cube itself, it's kind of challenging. Trying to orient these pieces, especially for the first time when you don't know how and you got to learn the correct algorithms and methods and whatnot. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But what if we took this concept and expanded upon it? Actually, no. 5x5. There we go. Now we got a real challenge. So the Pochmann 5x5 is a puzzle that I think looks the part. It looks pretty intimidating, and it kind of is. When you go about solving this, especially for the first time, solving the centers is a pretty decent challenge. So with the normal Pochmann cube, the biggest challenge is just orienting the centers so that they correspond with the outer perimeter square. We got a similar thing going on with the 5x5, except not only do we have to orient the very center, but we also have to orient all 8 perimeter centerpieces around the center. And then these centerpieces have to correspond with the outer perimeter square, which gets to be quite a lot. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up and give you a sense of how kind of confusing this looks. Okay, so here we go, and yeah, it's quite a bit of a mess. I'm gonna start solving a center for you right now. Let's start with the blue center as always. I'm gonna first start by building the center bar. I got this blue-yellow piece right here, which corresponds to this blue-yellow. And there we go, we got our first center, not too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and get through the rest of the centers really quick, and eventually we're probably gonna stumble upon something that's gonna heavily halt our process. You'll see what I mean in a sec. Okay, so it looks like we've got about all the centers fixed, like they should be, except for one. We're on the last center, this yellow one here, and we have two center pieces across from each other swapped. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I like to call the Pochmann parity. Now I'm going to show you how to solve this really quick, but just in case you don't want to know how to solve this, you want to learn it on your own. Okay, so if you're stuck on the last center, you got two edges swapped either across from each other or diagonally, you're just going to want to use the algorithm that you use to solve the last two edges on a normal 5x5. Your mileage may vary, but depending on which algorithm you use, I'm going to show you which one I use really quick, and it should work for you. And it looks like this. You're going to put your unsolved center on the top, and here we go. So as you can see, it has swapped these two center pieces across from each other, but it has also rotated our very center piece. Now we don't have time to get into how you flip centers around on supercubes, but this is how I go about that. And there you go. Ask me questions in the comment section if you need clarification on that. I'll help you out. Okay, so that's how you solve that. Something cool about this, once you get all the centers solved, it's actually impossible to end up with your last two edge parity that you might run into on a 5x5, just because of the nature of the puzzle. Your center pieces are all where they should be. On a normal 5x5, any of these could be swapped around, which leads to your edge parity. So once your centers are done, you just got to solve your edges like a normal 5x5. Don't get too confused, it's okay, and you'll be just fine. But for now, we got to keep moving on to number 3. Coming in the first in the top 3 of the hardest sticker mods you can get on the market, in my opinion, we have the Sudoku Cube. Now, there are many different variations of the Sudoku Cube. In this case, each piece is its own color. So we got this all black piece here, we got this all red piece here, all white. That's the same for all the pieces around this entire cube. So just like a Sudoku puzzle where you got to get like one number, different number in each of the boxes, something like that. I've never solved a Sudoku puzzle before. Each face of this puzzle cannot have duplicates of the same color. So if I were to turn this top layer, look at this side, we have 2 blue pieces duplicated on this face. Same if I turn it like this, we have 2 yellow ones. I actually believe there's a few solved states on this. This is one of them where each side has no repeating colors. So if you're familiar with Sudoku, perhaps this cube wouldn't be too much of a challenge for you. If you've never solved a Sudoku puzzle before like me, you might spend like 3 hours trying to solve it like I did. It was a pretty painful process. What's especially infuriating about this puzzle is the fact that if you know how to solve a 3x3, that doesn't mean you can solve this. Ultimately, with the 3x3, we're able to solve it because we know what the end state is obviously supposed to look like. However, we don't know what the end state is supposed to look like on this thing. We can know how to move any piece around any way we want to with any algorithms or commutators, but unless we're looking at a picture of the solved state, which is cheating, then it sucks. To solve this, I've only solved it once because I'm afraid to scramble it again. I just solved the first 2 layers over and over and over and over again until I got a situation where the last layer could then be completed without duplicating any of the first 2 layer colors. I'm sure there's like a tried and true method of solving this thing reliably every time out there. I don't know it. I'm not keen to figure it out because this thing has already caused me enough trauma, but not as much trauma as our next contestant. Alrighty, now it's time to cut the funny business and batten down the hatches and prepare yourselves. We're in the top 2. This is serious. These last 2 puzzles I've had for quite some time now, and I've never solved them. I don't know if I care to solve them, because they put me through enough pain already that I don't want to feel the wrath anymore. Okay, coming in at number 2, we have the V-Cube Maze. Out of all the puzzles we'll be looking at today, I've had this one by far the longest, probably 5 going on 6 years, and I've not even come close to being able to solve this. If you thought that finding the solved state of the Sudoku cube was a challenge, this right here, this is the Dark Souls of cubing. So you probably guessed it's pretty tough because each piece looks so similar to one another. However, it's not only that all the pieces look pretty similar, it's that each piece can fit in multiple places, but not fit at the same time. Let me show you what I mean. So say we take this edge piece right here and we're trying to figure out which center it lines up with. Well, it looks like it lines up with this one, right? Well, what if we turn the center like that? It could still line up right there, right? Maybe. If we turn it again, that could line up, right?
What if we pick a different center? That could line up about here. That could also line up, maybe, maybe not, like that. Maybe this edge could also line up with this center, so we move it up. That could be it. And maybe this one. And also
So that's the case for literally every single piece on this puzzle, which is why in the many years I've had this, I've not even come close to solving this. I've never even dreamt about solving this. I don't even know when this puzzle came into my life. Pretty sure I like picked it up in like the back of a Barnes & Noble in like the puzzle aisle or something where they sell all the V-cubes and stuff. But whenever it was, when I got my little grubby hands on this thing, my quality of life diminished severely. So you're probably asking yourself, after all the trials and tribulations, all the claims of malice that I put toward this cube, what could possibly outdo this? Oh, good lord, we have to do this, don't we? Okay, entering the top spot, we have the infamous, you already know it, the Rubik's Impossible. So out of all the puzzles we've looked at today, this one's been making the rounds the most. There's plenty of videos of every YouTube cuber out there solving these. I'm pretty sure there's a video of Max Park solving one in like 2 seconds or whatever. I personally have spent many an hours with this thing and have gotten absolutely nowhere. Okay, let's do a quick introduction. What is the Rubik's Impossible? So the Rubik's Impossible is a standard 3x3, except instead of having just your normal stickered color scheme, we've got these textured tiles which in one direction change color as you rotate the cube. I think you can see what I'm getting at. If we take one of these pieces, say this edge right here, it looks green right now, but if we twist it this way, it turns orange, and then we keep going back to green, and then back to orange as we twist it behind here. And that's the case for pretty much every tile on this puzzle. Each tile is actually 2 colors, depending on how you look at it. There's an exception though. The centers remain the same color. Orange is never going to change. Red is never going to change. None of the centers are going to change color, but every other piece is going to drive you up the walls. I'm actually going to do my best to solve one side for everyone really quick. Try the green side. It looks like we might have a few solved already. Maybe. Probably not, but we're going to go for it. So I see this piece could be green, or it could be orange. Who knows? Could be green and yellow, or green and white. Who knows? I'm gonna say it's yellow because I don't think we have a green up here yet. Okay. One of these angles is gonna make it look solved. There we go. That's probably the most progress I've ever made with this thing. So anyways, there we have it. The official, unbiased, objective tier list, concrete 100% universal tier list of the hardest sticker mods you can get on the market. So before I let everyone go, before we part ways, do I recommend these puzzles? Well, let's start from the left here. So at number 5, the Rubik's Phantom. I think it's pretty cool. The concept is unique. Again, not a big challenge, but if you're looking for something that you can't get anywhere else, sure, get it. The Pochmann 5x5. This is actually far and away my favorite sticker mod, to be honest. It's a pretty big challenge, but not so big that it'll like drive you up the walls. It's also pretty cheap. If you're like checking out at like the Cubicle or something, you can like pick up a set of these stickers on your way out for like $2 or $3 or something and put it on an old 5x5 you're not using, and you're all good to go. And then the Sudoku cube. This one's a heck of a challenge. Like a heck of a challenge. If you like Sudoku puzzles, of course you should pick one of these up. It's not too expensive. If you don't like Sudoku puzzles, don't pick one of these up. It's not worth your time. If you've never solved Sudoku and you're just being experimental like I was when I picked this thing up, go for it. It's pretty difficult, but it's kind of fun. No. So there you have it.